executive committee meeting. Today is April the 10th. It's about 2 minutes after 3. So I'm just going to run down and see, because I can't see who's on the call. I'm just going to call the members of the chairs and see, so it's the members of the executive committee, and see who's on. Council Member Mendez, you on? All right, Council Member Porterfield.
Mendez is signed in.
Okay. Hey, Bob, can you hear me?
Yes.
I think I heard Arthur. Okay, hold on. So let's go do this again. Councilmember Mendez, are you on? Councilmember Porterfield? Councilmember Hurt? Councilmember Roten?
I'm here, Jim.
All right. Councilmember Sledge?
I'm here, as is Arthur.
Arthur, that's what I thought. I heard Arthur on there. Councilmember Hager? Councilmember Roberts, I think is not on.
Councilmember Hager's trying to sign on. He said to tell you.
Okay, all right. Councilmember Swope? Councilmember Swope, you on? Councilmember Henderson? Councilmember Murphy is on. Councilmember Rosenberg is on.
Yeah, and Bob says that he can hear, but he can't unmute himself.
Okay. Sledge,
can you Bob, if you can hear this,
I'm unmuting him now.
I had the same issue, that you can't do it in the list of people. You actually have to go to your other screen in order to unmute yourself. I had the same issue.
Okay. Bob, have you gotten through?
Yeah, I'm here now. My WebEx froze up on me, but I'm back in business.
Okay, all right. Councilmember Pulley?
I'm here.
All right. Councilmember Allen?
Here.
All right, I heard her. Councilmember O'Connell?
Here, can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Can anybody hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Okay.
Somebody can call Robert, since he's trying to get in on this call, but he called me directly. Councilmember Syracuse is on.
Yes, I'm here.
All right, so let me go back through. Councilmember Porterfield. Councilmember Hurt.
I'm here.
Oh, there you are. All right. Councilmember Hager, did you get in? All right, Roberts is gone. Say it again, Rosie.
Mr. Hager's still trying. It's not working, but he said he'll try.
Okay, can you call Councilmember Swope and see if you can help him get on?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and Councilmember Henderson? All right, and I know Rosie's on the phone. John Cooper, J.O.N. Cooper's on.
Yes.
Anybody else? Sled?
Yeah, Keith Durbin is on.
All right, anybody else on that wants to admit that they're on the call? All right. All right, well, thank you for getting on.
Wait, can you hear me? Oh,
Nancy Van Rees. There you are.
yeah, I'm here. I'm here at the pleasure of the vice mayor. I'm also the vice chair for Robert, so if he's unable to join us, then that'll make me officially here on behalf of that committee.
Okay, all right, sounds like a plan. All right, so a couple of things we're going to talk about today. John Cooper was nice enough to send out the agenda, and I'll just run through it real quick, and then we'll just go through it. Basically, we're going to spend time talking about logistics about the council meeting. And so I put in a couple different things. This past Tuesday's meeting, things that overall I thought it went pretty well, but what do we need to address? Committee meetings, we only had 3 this past time. Are we ready to get back and do more at the next meeting? I know there's been some requests for caucus meetings, and I think we just need to figure out if they can legally meet, and if so, what can they discuss and how do we do it? We have, obviously we deferred everything this last meeting on public hearings. We have a public comment period at the next one. What are the possibilities as we go a little further through? And then the Planning Commission, I know that we're trying to figure out how we connect to their schedule, and I know Councilmember Murphy can probably speak about that better. But what are they doing, and how do we make sure that we kind of are consistent with them in terms of either helping them catch up or that we don't stay too far behind them? And then once we get through that, I was going to leave a few minutes for Bob to talk a little bit about budget. I know we're still waiting for the mayor to give us a budget, but just kind of overall, I'll turn it over to Bob and let him kind of talk about that. So those were the two main things we were going to talk about today. We can obviously add some other stuff at the end if we need to, but so let me open it up for purposes of discussion about last Tuesday's meeting. Again, I mean, I thought overall it went fairly smoothly for the first time doing that. And so that's a big thanks to Slade and the IT folks and General Services, all those people that made that happen. But tell me, and again, you may have muted your mics, which is fine, but if you want to say something, just unmute. And we'll try to make sure that we don't talk over each other. But tell me the things that you felt were concerns about the meeting. What do we need to try to address for the next meeting?
Mr. Vice Mayor, this is Freddie O'Connell, and I'm happy to jump in because I know
Sure.
I was one of the people that requested this. So, you know, as we set it up, I think you're exactly right. The assessment from my standpoint was, in some ways, it went even better than I expected. In other ways, it's not the kind of thing that I would want to see us doing for any particular period of time, right? Like if we know that this is going to be what we're doing possibly all the way through June, which I wouldn't say is an unrealistic expectation at this point. We know the governor's order takes us through, I believe, the first meeting in May. You know, WebEx obviously is not designed as software to be a public meetings forum, right? It is not technologically where we want to go. And so one of the questions I had submitted to our John Cooper was, you know, we've got, obviously, Granicus has got some things that we are already evaluating. So we presumably have some contract with them. I know they have a whole suite of COVID-19 solutions and solutions for digital governance. And I'd just be interested in an update on, you know, what are our realistic prospects if we're going to be, you know, meeting virtually, trying to conduct public hearings, doing things like caucus meetings. You know, what could we better do to leverage technology that might be better designed specifically for this purpose?
Okay. Hey, is Keith Durbin on the call?
I am on the call, and I would love to give a response to kind of what's been going on.
Sure. You're recognized. Go ahead.
Great. Thank you, Vice Mayor. So ITS has been working on how to run public meetings for over a month now in anticipation and prior to that governor's order. And so we've been doing that both in really close consultation with Bob Cooper and John Cooper. And we got some good advice from Bob Cooper that early on that basically start simple, start conservative, and then add capabilities as we go. And that's really the model that we have been. So in my mind, we are really fortunate that last fall we purchased, installed, and completed the rollout of Metro Cisco WebEx infrastructure. And it combines cloud functionality, integration into our enterprise phone and video systems. And so thus a lot of the issues that you're hearing about privacy and security that are really dogging Zoom, ITS has anticipated those with Cisco and really worked through them previously. And so at this point, our philosophy is very much trying to keep to a single platform for running public meetings, as opposed to a cobbled together solution, kind of Frankenstein-ish. But we are daily continuing to work through kind of what the final pieces of the puzzle are that it'll take to conduct the meetings like I think everybody wants to have them, as well as comply with legal requirements. So at this point, we have had, in addition to your Metro Council and the committee meetings, 2 Planning Commission meetings, Arts Commission, Benefits Board, Board of Health, and we have COB, Civil Service, Sports Authority, and others coming. And so what we've got today is we have the process down with the WebEx platform for meetings where we know who the people are who need to talk. So that's members of boards and commissions and Metro Council. That's staff member. And it is identified and known community members who need to address a board. For example, we had a benefit board meeting. I guess it was last week. There were 2 pensioners who wanted to speak to their case. We knew who they were. We set them up just like we set you guys up, and it worked. The real test is figuring out how to get feedback from unknown members of the public on specific items. So the mechanisms that are kind of in our standard toolkit today that are working with planning commissions, these other ones, is so the first thing is we are, as a matter of course, putting a WebEx station or frankly just a phone on the site of wherever the normal meeting is held. For example, the planning commission, the 2 planning commission meetings, we set up a computer there, and they ask if any council members are here. Yesterday there were none, and no members of the public are showing up. So we are continuing that, and we're also in that situation having members of the staff of the department that supports the board there also to do crowd control. So the health department meeting met yesterday, and Tom Sharp was there just in case they had a bunch of people and he could keep them social distance and all that kind of thing. Secondly, we have set up, and it's standard now, to set up a voicemail box for every board or commission who wants it. Planning Commission has it, where they can put that information out. Members of the public can call in advance, leave a message up to whatever length that board or commission does, and then those will be played at the meeting. And then the final thing that legal is doing is said, hey, we want the ability to send emails or paper comments, and those will be read in. And I was in an hour-long conversation with legal, multiple days on kind of what that looks like. And so each board and commission is a little bit different. What we are really, really working on, and we've been working on this for about 3 weeks, is a mechanism to allow callers during the meeting to be heard. So I've done a tremendous amount of research, and I've spoken to my peers across Tennessee, as well as in Miami and Louisville and Pittsburgh, and no one has this solved yet. Even people that have the full-blown Granicus solution, such as in Miami, are not doing this yet. But with Cisco, we have been working, and we've got a big test planned on Monday about how we can provide a mechanism for members of the public to call in and during the meeting and be heard on specific items. Our goal has been, knowing that Lucy has some agenda items that are significant for her 423 meeting. And so that has been the goal. And assuming all goes well, we will have that worked out as of Monday. Legal is really serious about the fact that they want the ability to have people who don't have a computer to be able to access meetings all day long. So if this was a situation where we had everybody in the public had a computer, we could provide a link just like we provided you. They could dial in or call in on their computer. We could identify them in a queue, and we could have ways to do that. Legal is not satisfied with that mechanism. So that's why we're really working hard to get a mechanism for people to call in. I also attended the neighbor to neighbor meeting that Lucy held virtually, and those absolutely echo the comments that came from that group this past Tuesday evening. So we are counting on working through and determining by Monday whether that solution is going to work for us. We also continue to look at the e-comments tool that we own from Granicus, which is the tool of that tool set that seems to make some sense. It may or may not augment what solution we already have, but we'll know more about that on Monday. intense program.
Okay, thanks, Keith. That's helpful. I think from that it's unclear to me. Are we exploring? I guess I get where we are with Cisco and WebEx, and I totally appreciate the idea of starting simple and looking to add. Do we have representatives of Granicus that can answer any of these questions about what could be extended with their platform or Cisco in terms of, an understanding of what the capabilities are? Like, are we explaining the problem space to both of these teams, and or looking at, in terms of where peer cities are that are doing this, to say, all right, who is the furthest along and kind of what is working out there?
Yes, Councilman, we've been doing that for a month now. I actually had a conference call yesterday with the CIO of Gartner. Gartner is a big IT consultancy and kind of knowledge provider. He was telling me that they run 10 to 15,000 WebEx meetings a day, and they have global events all over the world, wherein they have situations where they have presentations and they have people that raise their hands effectively and want to speak in those meetings. So we vetted, it took about 4 different conversations with subordinates there to figure out, kind of making sure they understand exactly the use case that we were looking for here. Members of the unknown public who want to have to address these bodies. These are the same conversations I had with Louisville 2 days ago. I had it with Miami yesterday. They were running their city commission meeting when I was talking to him. He was back supporting it. And what everybody has done, because nobody has a good solution, Miami has the full Granicus suite rolled out. They are not using the e-comments to do it. Everyone is deferring as Lucy has done and as you guys have done. They are deferring everything until a better solution kind of gels. What I have not been able to get, though I have reached out into the Gartner community, of which we're a member, nobody has figured this out fully yet. People are taking incremental steps. We are leading this. Laura Fox also mentioned that across the state, she's hearing from attorneys the way they're doing it, and we are doing equivalent or more than others are doing. I feel confident that the work Slade has done, that Ed Galvanese have done, that I have done, that Jesse have done. We were on a meeting for 2 hours this morning with Cisco, with some of their top engineers. We had a meeting on Monday, kind of making sure they understood fully the situation that we have in hand. This is not something in the U.S. that has, that we can find at least, that has any sophistication here. And what we haven't done yet, we haven't looked at Estonia, who has kind of a digital government from the ground up. We have not gone to that extent yet. But we are happy if any members of this body can direct us. If they know a city, I have zero problem reaching out in a heartbeat to anybody on their staffs or the vendors that they're using to figure out kind of what they're doing for best practice.
So, hey, Dave Rosenberg, did you have a comment?
Yeah, thanks for that, Keith. I particularly appreciate that Estonia is the gold standard for this. Thanks for talking through the public hearings. I'm really uncomfortable with the fact that we're going to have to do that online, and hopefully by only taking up essential business, that'll be limited. But certainly it seems like we're going to have to do the budget public hearing that way, which gets kind of back to the larger platform issue. I thought the meeting Tuesday went exceptionally well for this system that we had set up, and that speaks to Slade and ITS and Jim and everybody who put it together. But WebEx as a solution for our meetings is adequate at best. And as a $2.2 billion corporation that's about to probably debate its next budget online, which will also, if it's like any other year, include roll call votes on 20 different budget amendments and everything else. This is not, I feel like on an audio only system where we're having to go through all of these hoops to be able to do basic legislative functions, it's going to be very difficult to operate a complex meeting. And it's going to be very difficult for people to persuade others in the legislative body as a disembodied voice on the other end. I know that there are corporate boards and I'm sure legislatures across the country that meet regularly with video capabilities and voting capabilities, and we've got to be working towards that. I appreciate that ITS has a ton of stuff that's needing to go through right now, but if we need to spend money so that we don't screw up a $3 million resolution or a $2.2 billion budget to be able to operate in a professional way that doesn't involve passing notes and pushing the hand raise button, and hoping to get noticed, we've got to do that. I mean, for what the job of this body is, we've got to do better than an adequate system. And so I'd appreciate seeing, what capabilities Granicus can offer us and start spinning up towards that. Because like Freddie said, we could be in this for a while.
All right. So Keith, do you want to respond?
Absolutely. I agree with you, Dave. I could not agree with you more. Again, I refer back to the philosophy that Bob Cooper put out there at the beginning is start small and iterate. And that's really what we've been trying to do. So you're all aware that we are in the midst of a Granicus implementation, which has some additional software that the Legistar solution, that their e-voting solution, that has been put on hold due to we did not feel at the time that during a critical budget situation like this was the time to put it forward. I am happy to re-engage and look at what that product rollout could be if we were to kick it back off. I have no idea what that means right now, but I am happy to get going there. E-comment is a small piece of that. A second comment I would make is, and this is not as big as the Granicus comment, the video component of it, hey, I'm all about doing video. If everybody understands that the video aspect of this, it's all about risk. Doing things audio has benefits from a bandwidth perspective. It has benefits from a meeting running perspective where people come in and out due to bandwidth considerations, background clutter. But yesterday I mentioned that I had watched the Miami, and all 5 of their commissioners were there in their various rooms debating. Again, they had no public comment in that. So we have the capability to do that, though you run the risk because you have no control over the devices that are being used to connect to the meeting. For instance, I do know that we have been amazed at across the boards and commissions the number and the ages of the devices that have needed to connect to these meetings. Plus, you have absolutely no control of the bandwidth of the people that are communicating. If it's on the Metro network, no problem. In most of the meetings that I attend, people have adequate bandwidth at home or wherever they're taking it from. I had a meeting today with a woman who lives in Bellevue, and her connection was horrific, and there was nothing she could do about it. So if video, is something that you guys would like to explore further, I'm all about it. I just wanted to make sure that everybody understands the risks that are associated there.
Okay.
Thanks for covering that, Keith. And if the end result of this with the budget situation is that we need to schedule an emergency meeting in a week to consider a resolution to authorize funding or something for this, I'm all for whatever it takes. I'm sure all 40 of us have high speed or whatever. I mean, we're all doing Zoom stuff nonstop, and I'm for giving it a shot through whatever mechanisms Keith and the vice mayor think we need to employ.
So one more thing, Dave. I'm going to reach out after we end this call to our Granicus staff and talk to them. I mean, we paid for this solution. I mean, we own it. And so I will reach out to them and see what we can do. And it will require working with Joanne Cooper and Elizabeth Waits to look at what an implementation of a system that is already partially implemented but is put on hold. It's still moving very slowly. But what it would be, would it look like if we start escalating that starting next week? And we can have an answer for you soon. I do know that to your point, it appeared that the members of that Miami Commission were using whatever the, I guess it's e-vote or whatever the Granicus tool is, they were using that to take their votes. And I can call back the CIO Michael there and talk to him further about how they're doing that, because they certainly were all of them. Happy to do that, Dave.
All right. I think Councilmember Murphy had, you got a question.
Yes. So tell me if I'm too loud because I'm on speaker, but I have it to my ear. So I guess I'm that barely a millennial, but still not great on technology. This is a little bit changing subjects. It's more about the meeting and the time length and discussion things. Want to discuss important thing, right? So we bumped things to be important. I'm not talking about planning commission here. Happy to talk about planning commission when we get to it. Just talking about the last committee meetings and the last meeting on Tuesday. I feel like we took up a lot of legislation that was non-essential. And I asked for an AG opinion, guidance back from the AG that I've shared with Jay and I've shared with Bob Cooper. And really, you know, talking amongst them and reaching out to some other council members about what they define essential is and isn't. I think at this last meeting on the agenda, there was stuff that, yeah, we had put off. And so maybe it is better that we move it on through. But I think on our next agendas, and I think that this executive committee needs to potentially draft up, and I'm happy to help work on this because there is a little guidance in the TCA that Bob Cooper and I talked about, and in conjunction with, you know, some other council members and our legal teams, draft out something about what we as a body consider essential and not essential. Because yeah, it's easy to pass things right on through on consent that are not non-essential, but you know, it's taking up time that we could be spending on other things. And not that I want to backlog, but for example, you know, I had a resolution honoring the rep. Well, their 30th year, whatever. Obviously, like I just deferred that, and because it's something that I do want the body to vote on, but we don't need to do that. I mean, if we get to December, I'll ask y'all to vote on it, right? Like the anniversary comes around every 10 years. But, you know, some of these other resolutions, some of the aerial encroachments, some of these, you know, zoning projects and other pieces of legislation that are not essential, in my opinion, for good governance to continue, for the health and safety of the public. I really think that we could be deferring some of that. And that also, you know, solves some of the other problems that we're talking about having live discussion, right? Like maybe it needs live discussion, maybe it doesn't. I think that should really be at the will of the chair, or we as an executive committee need to come up with kind of a statement, our kind of statement, mission or guidance for ourselves, vote on that as the executive committee and present it to the council. I mean, I think that's the role of the executive committee. And I understand that I have a much stricter interpretation of the executive order than some of the other council members. And so I've really struggled in going back and forth on some of this stuff. But I do think that it is, when we don't know how long we're going to be doing this, I think this executive committee has to make a statement and a decision on what we consider essential and what we consider non-essential and what we need to keep off the agenda for a while, like not file or just defer on first reading, and what we move forward on. And again, maybe I'm being a little too strict interpretation there, but I think it will help guide and keep us all smooth, and also keep it level playing field across the board so nobody feels like they're singled out committee. So
Well,
I'd love some feedback and thoughts on that.
Okay, well, let me first turn it over to J.O.N. Cooper's on the phone. So, Councilman Murphy, the Attorney General's office has not opined on this, correct?
Muted myself. So they sent back, Representative Bill Beck sent in my question, and I tried to, as we all know, you want to make sure you're as narrow as possible when you write. And shot, I did get back the same day. And I gave a few examples of legislation. Really what and I like permission JON.
So we can't, Kathleen, we can't hear you.
Me.
Councilman Murphy?
Yeah, hear me?
You're breaking up.
Okay, give me just a second. Let me walk outside a little more. Can you hear me better?
Yeah, we can hear you now. But so I saw something back from the Attorney General's office. They didn't opine on this issue.
Right.
They sent a copy
right.
of the comptroller's way of handling a meeting, but they didn't opine on this issue.
Right. I didn't say they opined. I said I asked for an opinion, and what they sent back was some further clarification and guidance from the comptroller, and some further clarification and guidance from one of the many acronyms we belong to. I don't remember if it's TMAS or which one, but one of the county body associations. So I think that gives us a little bit more guidance. I think if you read the executive order, that gives us some guidance. And I think that, from what I'm hearing from Bob Cooper, former Attorney General, from what I'm hearing from the current AG's office and our own JON Cooper, is that it's up to the legislative body to determine this. And I think that that's the role of this executive committee, is to kind of come up with some guidance and some boundaries so everybody feels like they're getting fair play. Not just amongst committees, but amongst council districts and council members.
Well, so I'm going to turn it over to J.O.N. Cooper for an analysis of what the executive order says. John is obviously our lawyer. I have not talked to Bob Cooper about this. But I have looked at the response back from the Attorney General's office and the comptroller, and it was TML that responded.
No, it wasn't TML. It was a different one.
Well, I saw something from TML, I thought. All right.
Yeah,
so,
no, I'm sure they did as well.
John Cooper, J.O.N. Cooper. Oh, yeah, and Councilmember Swope is on the call. Just want to make sure everybody's aware. Okay, J.O.N. Cooper.
So when the state legislation was pending, I started working with Metro Legal on what this could look like and what the scope would be. And then after the AG opinion, the executive order came out, I worked with Metro Legal to make sure we were all on the same page about what it meant. And all of the government attorneys that I spoke with were in agreement that it's up to the legislative body to determine, or whichever governing body it is, to determine what is essential for their purposes, and that the executive order was drafted broadly for that purpose so that it could be specific to each city or county. So there really isn't any bright line test for what is or is not essential. It's pretty much whatever the council thinks it is.
So it's the executive order talks about the essential functions of government. I think it doesn't define what essential is. It just says it's what the legislative body determines is its essential function. And again, it sounds like again, we can determine what that is, and what's the function of the council? What is essentially what we do? Is Bob Cooper on this call? I know he knew that it was on. I'm just double checking.
He's not, to my knowledge.
Okay. All right. So So you've heard what Councilmember Murphy has said. Does anybody want to comment on that? Do you think that this is something the executive committee should do, or are we handling it okay and just continuing the essential functions of what we normally do by continuing what we normally do?
Mr. Vice Mayor, can you see hands? Because I know there's.
No, I can see who pushes their button. So Councilmember O'Connell and Councilmember Sledge have.
And I think I saw Councilmember Porterfield. I'll go last. Yeah, I'll go last.
Yeah,
Delisha, you want to go first?
Yeah.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much. I actually, the points that I were considering were pretty much made by Dave and Freddie and Kathleen, actually. So I'll be really brief. I think we've got to find a better way to handle the capacity that we're going to see when it comes to public comments. I think Slade and the IT team have done an amazing job. So thank you so much, Slade. I know how hard you've worked on this. I definitely appreciate that. I think we do have to find a better solution. And I also agree that we need to look at only essential business. The meeting went way better than I thought it was going to go, but I think we covered too much business for it to be something that we're only supposed to be looking at essential business. So I would like to see us define what essential looks like for this council and limit what we're hearing during this period of time. Thanks.
Okay. Councilmember Sledge, you recognized.
Yeah, and real quick, I don't want to repeat what anybody else said, but I will emphasize it. I do think it's our role as executive committee to provide, I would say, suggestions for the body, maybe to consider and possibly even vote on. But on the distinct portion about essential business, I will say that I personally am starting to get requests that I don't think under any circumstance would be considered essential to the operation of government. And what's occurring is, without clear rules or clear guidelines, that then we as members get pressured to then file or run those pieces of legislation, and it is eating up bandwidth and mental capacity that is just totally unnecessary at a time like this. So I think the sooner we can provide guidance, the better everyone will be, and that includes members of the council as well as members of the public, so that we're setting clear expectations.
All right, Councilmember O'Connell, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. So let me say, I agree with the principle of what Councilmember Murphy is saying, and I think what Councilmember Sledge just alluded to is of critical importance, specifically for the executive committee. These are the group of committee chairs. You know, we set our rules in committee, which ultimately affects what happens on the floor. And I think, you know, my take on this, probably not as hardline as Councilmember Murphy's, in the sense of distinguishing between recitals and content of the executive order. I'd be happy to review an Attorney General's opinion, but I think ultimately, to Councilmember Sledge's point, we have to be somewhere where we are doing more work, and it's going to be difficult to distinguish between frivolous items and items that actually, you know, are maybe not. And this might be also part of the issue. Is I think there is probably a distinction that is worth discussing between essential for the function of Metro government versus actions that we must take as an essential governing body to enable things that are consistent with the other now definitions of essential activities in and around the city, right? And so there, you know, the idea of non-binding resolutions, memorializing resolutions versus aerial encroachments, you know, I think there is a discussion to be had there about what we're going to do, and I wonder if it is maybe worth seeing if we could get to consensus on a letter from the executive committee that lets us at least have some internal consistency. I think full consensus is going to be tough here, because I think you know, I have already heard the spectrum of anything goes versus a very strict and narrow definition of essential. But I think that is what we are here for as an executive committee, and I do think this is worth grappling with. I mean, my personal take on this is generally if we can enable things that are essential activities under other definitions then we ought to seek to do so if they will be non-controversial, right? But generally, I think we're also kind of constrained by not just the contents of the order, but by, frankly, our capabilities, which is what the first part of this conversation was. And it sounds like our capabilities are going to be particularly limited for quite some time.
So let me ask you a question. So let's say that the executive committee comes out with some policy and says, okay, you shouldn't file resolutions honoring people. And then somebody says, I want to go ahead and do it anyway. So
I think it's up to rules to, I mean.
Yeah, but it's not a rule from the executive committee.
It's guidance, but then it would be up to the rules committee to take action, either recognizing that guidance or not. And I think the chair of the rules committee, if the chair of the rules committee didn't sign the letter, that's a pretty good sign that we wouldn't have come anywhere close to consensus. If we can't get a letter, then, that's also a signal that there's not going to be anything even close to resembling agreement around this principle.
Well, I'm just not sure. I think we're all happy to try to look at it. It's something else on the plate. The question is, I mean, at this point, I don't think anybody can define what essential is. And then
what we're here to do as a group. I mean, we can either agree on a definition and express that as our guidance, or we can say, the question's too hard. We're not even going to try to bother coming up with an answer.
Well, I just, you've got, how many people on the executive committee? You've got a number of people, but it's not the majority of council members.
No, it's not. But the reason we elect our committee chairs or appoint our committee chairs is presumably so that they can lead committees in a way that is appropriate. And I think this is a totally and fundamentally appropriate use of the executive committee's time and maybe not authority, but certainly voice of the council. And certainly members are free to disagree with the guidance.
And I would, if you can hear me, it's Kathleen. I'd back Freddie up a little bit. If yes, the executive committee is not a majority of the council, but again, committees can set their own rules. But it is difficult when one committee has a different set of rules than another committee. And again, not to volunteer myself for more work, but I think Freddie as traffic and parking chair, myself, and Councilman Syracuse, we were all elected by the body. And so if you want, sorry to volunteer you boys, if you want the three of us to take a stab at something, because I think Freddie and I are on a little bit opposite interpretations. I don't know where Councilman Syracuse is.
Only a little bit.
But I think that let the three of us take a stab at it, because I think you can make the justification that we were not appointed by the vice mayor. So vice mayor, we can include you in this or whatever, but let us take a stab at it and represent it to the executive body or to the executive committee, make some tweaks and then present it to the council. And if the committee chair wants to sign on or not sign on, if a committee chair wants to adjust their rules or not adjust their rules, I think that is within our council rules as well. But I think at this time, I mean, maybe it's because I've been sewing masks and listening to the soundtrack of Alexander Hamilton. I think that we need to step up, be leaders, and we were elected to make hard decisions, and this is a hard decision. And we're not all going to agree. We're not all going to be best friends and sing Kumbaya all the time. But I think we need to take a stab at this for the betterment of everybody.
Well, so I'm going to appoint Council Member Syracuse as lead on this, as the pro tem. If you all want to take a stab, there's nothing to prevent you all from doing that. I do think that it would probably be important to see what the Attorney General's office said. And I know they attached these two documents, the Comptroller's office and this other guidance. If you want to check with the appropriate folks, particularly TML and the county folks who are engaged in this discussion as well, because they can tell you what other cities and counties are doing, whether other cities and counties are trying to come up with a definition of what's essential or not. But Councilman Syracuse, are we? Oh, hold on. Councilmember Syracuse, are you willing to lead this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So I do think we should get whatever the Attorney General's office said and get it to the members of the executive committee.
And so John, J.O.N. Cooper, do I need to give you permission to share what I have sent you? Is this good enough? Do I need to email you?
I can forward that.
Okay. And then as a lobbyist, I have the relationship with the TML lobbyists and Alla and Jane Alvis and, Tom Lee, who represents Chattanooga and things like that. Happy to shoot text messages out to them today to start getting that going. Same with the risk management attorney from Clarksville reached out to me yesterday, so I'm happy to reach back out to her. And I'm sure somebody's got a tie in Memphis that we can get this knocked out. Hopefully, I'm at the will of the other two members' schedules, but hopefully we can get something back pretty quickly.
Say, Mr. Vice Mayor, as somebody who spoke up, I fully support our pro tem taking the lead on this, and I'd be happy to join Councilmember Murphy on drafting something, provided the rest of the executive committee seems generally okay with that.
Okay. Well, you all work on it. Councilmember Syracuse, take the lead, see what y'all can come up with, and then we can always send it back to the executive committee if you come up with something. Let me ask you this. It's now 3:48. Other things, anybody else want to comment on this, or you just want to wait until
Yes, I would like to make a quick comment if I could. Good.
Sure.
Okay, this is Berkeley. Just to clarify, is this coming back to the executive committee once the three that have been appointed work on it? Because I think that's important, and there's.
I do too. I think that's important.
Great. Okay.
Yeah, I think the understanding is that it comes back. I don't think this committee does not have the authority to implement something over the council as a whole. This has to come back to the executive committee for discussion.
And if we have thoughts and preferences, what's the mechanism for getting those to them as they're writing this up?
I would contact Councilmember Syracuse as chair. I think I'd do it that way.
Okay.
Okay.
Sure. Thanks.
This is Sharon, and I would like to add a representative from the Minority Caucus to serve on that task force that you all just appointed.
Love to do that, Sharon. Do you want to do it?
No, I don't want to do it. I think I need someone who's more technologically astute than I am, and I would lean to the caucus, but I can.
Can you recommend someone? Would you be willing to recommend someone?
Absolutely. Yes, I will. Maybe not at this time, but I will before your first meeting.
Sounds like a plan. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So let me go through the couple of other things real quick on this. Committee meetings. We only had 3 last time. That was because we were testing the system. For those other committee chairs, if we can pull this off and figure out how to do it, I'm not sure if we can only do 1 at a time, and we'd have to schedule them that way. But committee chairs, what do you think? You ready to go back to work?
Yes, and I'm curious how we're going to do appointments and confirmations so that those don't happen automatically by charter.
Right. So, Mr. Cooper, the concern is that obviously we keep putting off these appointments. What's the rule on that?
So after 60 days from appointment, if the council doesn't act, then the council has deemed to approve the nominees. So I think there is one of those that might be coming close to that 60 days. That is a reappointment. It's not a new appointment. So, we can work with ITS and see if we can come up. I mean, I assume we can just send the nominees the same link that we're doing with this meeting and interview them on the phone. That seems like a pretty easy thing to do if that's what the Rules Committee wants to do.
Hey, John, this is Keith. That is the definition of when I said that we can bring in board members, staff members, and kind of known parties. That's the definition of that. Then go back to that benefit board example I gave earlier. So that's not an issue at all.
Great.
All right. So assuming that we want to try to get the other committees back up to speed, then I assume that we work with J.O.N. Cooper, Keith, Slade, and figure out how we do it and whether we have to do it one at a time or we can do several at a time or whatever like we normally do. Do you all mind taking a look at that and then letting the body know what we can do? Keith, John, you okay with taking a look at that?
Yeah, that's fine. Sure.
Okay. Let's see what else I've got. The caucus meetings. So I know Sharon's on the line, Minority Caucus, LGBTQ caucus. Under the governor's executive order, can they legally meet? And if so, what legally can they do?
So this is John. I talked to my initial concern was that because the caucuses themselves are not actual committees of the council or created by ordinance or charter, that we may not fall under that executive order. So I talked to the attorney in legal that's been dealing with these open meetings issues electronically the most. And we agreed this afternoon that we probably can do it, that is considered a part of the council. Anytime there are two or more members communicating together, then we could do it electronically. Now, the concern from IT, I'm not speaking for them, but they've got all these boards and commissions that they're trying to do these meetings for, and so it may not be possible for them to set it up, but assuming that there is another platform that the caucuses can use and then have that recorded so that it can be posted online within 48 hours as required by the executive order, then they probably could.
All the spider webs that I could. We're going to have to do like 3 rounds. It's like under there, but I got to listen to this.
Hey, Kathleen, we can hear you, so you may want to mute your phone. All right. John, what you seem to be saying is that it's okay for them to proceed ahead, but it may be IT has to figure out whether they can do all this stuff. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
And I know that they've got a lot going on, and I wouldn't want to commit them to facilitating additional meetings over what they're already trying to do.
Hey, this is Keith. Our big thing is send us the schedule of events that you'd like to see, and we're happy to give you feedback. And we'll tell you when there are conflicts, and if we could be involved in the scheduling around kind of existing meetings, standing meetings, that would even be the best case scenario, because we want to be able to do them for you if we can. And I can't imagine the volume would be too big, but we'd be happy to work with you on that.
All right. So Sharon, Nancy, anybody else who oversees a caucus group, do you all mind just kind of running, if you all want to meet, run it through J.O.N. Cooper, he'll send it over to Keith and Slade and figure out, if they can do it and the time frame and so forth like that. Is that okay?
It is okay. We actually wanted to meet this Monday at our regularly scheduled time, simply because of what's going on with COVID-19. As you know, that there's been quite a bit of information circulating regarding the impact on African American communities. And the thing of it is that while the community may not be hit now, when it does hit, it goes viral very, very fast. So we want to try to do some things to flatten their curve and try to get ahead of it before it actually comes in and take over the minority community. And that was some of the things that I know that we wanted to talk about, or we needed to talk about to strategize. I've been working on some things myself as chair of health and hospitals, but also knowing that this issue basically intersects with the minority caucus because of this targeted group that is a vulnerable population for what we expect to come.
So what time do you all normally meet? Is it 5 o'clock on Monday?
Yes.
Okay. So Keith, assuming, do you all have to give public notice of your meeting? That is a public notice.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. We do.
You have to give reasonable notice.
Okay. So so there's two, I guess there's a legal question first. Can they do it? Is there enough time for a public notice on that? And then second of all, if there is, Keith, can you all look and see whether that's a possibility to do it?
Yeah, I feel sure that the possibility is there. I'm looking at the schedule. We don't have anything at that time. And especially if it's a simple meeting like this one, I mean, there's nothing to set this up. So yeah, I will send off some information now.
Okay, Sharon, John,
Yes.
do they have enough time to post public notice?
If they posted the notice this afternoon, that would be fine. We generally said 48 hours is reasonable.
Okay. So Sharon, I guess Keith, if you can let Sharon know if you can do it at 5 o'clock on Monday, then Sharon, if you can get public notice posted, then it may be that you're good to go. All right.
Is Rosie on the call?
Rosie, you still there?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I can get something out today.
Thank you.
Okay.
And you will be hosting it, right?
So that was 5 o'clock on Monday next week?
Yeah, 5
Yes.
o'clock on Monday, like in 3 days, right?
Okay, and Rosie,
April 13th.
I'll need the list of attendees, please.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, so that answers that question. We had, I think, one other one on for logistics, and then we'll talk about the budget real quick. We've already talked about public hearings.
Can you hear me?
Are you there?
I'm sorry,
Nancy?
can you hear me? This is Nancy. Yeah, sorry.
I got you. Yeah.
You had asked about the LGBTQ caucus. I wanted to answer that question.
Yeah.
We had scheduled a meeting that was postponed. It was supposed to take place last week. We've decided that we wanted to try to do that meeting about a week after the mayor's budget is proposed. And so because it's only 5 of us, we may invite a couple of organizations like we did on our first meeting. If it's okay with ITS, it's just much easier for us to go ahead and just do a Zoom and record it and then provide you that recording. Or would you prefer it to go through your system?
So we are advising no Metro business on Zoom, but I can't tell you what to do. We have the tools and we are happy to accommodate you.
Okay, well, just giving you a heads up that that first 5-7 days there after the budget is presented, Russ Bradford, our secretary, will notify the date, and then we'll go from there after that.
All right. All right. So,
Thank you.
okay. Thank you. The Planning Commission, does anybody have just a quick update? I think they are meeting. I think they have a meeting this Thursday. So, Councilmember Murphy, are they, where are they?
Me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Okay. I'm getting confused on when I'm muted and unmuted. Shocked, I know. So I was actually on the phone with Lucy Kemp before this, and I didn't think we probably should have had her. So things on consent, like things that we are not getting emails on or calls on or council member concerns on, we are putting those on consent and passing the consent agenda and deferring everything else for right now. But that being said is, so if, like, they have a staffer down at Howard School, and so if a member of the public does show up there or wants to bump something from consent, or like I noticed something that Councilman Taylor had, it was on consent for last night, but he had expressed at our last council meeting, he withdrew the bill. So like I was able to get that indefinitely deferred. And so I think what's important is for council members to make sure that they are communicating looking at the agenda to make sure nothing's getting past them in this time of like tons of emails. They need to be communicating with the planning staff through the reviewer or through Matthew in our office, because he is our liaison to the commission, and they are overworked right now. They're getting slammed. And so when I have heard from some council members, and I would love some feedback from this committee and others, honestly, is we are being very careful, and Lucy is being very cognizant and careful about public hearing, wanting to be overly sensitive, deferring things so people can feel like they've had time to hear. Community meetings, obviously, I think are very difficult to do when it comes to a zoning or a BZA matter right now. And so that's a little tricky. And I just want to, and I don't know if this is a letter that should come from maybe Vice Mayor, myself, and Lucy, saying to all of the council, you know, not to assume that every developer is a bad apple, but I've already heard from a few council members who said that they are getting pressured by developers to, you know, to say, well, we don't need to have the community meeting because it goes to the council, and so just let it go, let us go through planning, and then we can talk further. And we all know once you get through planning, then they say, well, we've already gotten through planning, so let us move forward. So I'd love to, you know, give some just advice, which I've done to council members that have reached out to me on just saying, you know, let's slow it down. If it's a project you have concerns about, don't let developers bully you into pushing things through without getting input from your constituents, and also talking to them about, you know, what's good ways to get that input in a time like this, since I really feel it's hard to get real community input through the internet. So letters are really important, and hearing from the council member is really important. So like I said, we're continuing forward, but Lucy is calling me on a very regular basis to touch base and hear what I'm hearing from council members, what I'm hearing from members of the public, what I'm hearing from the press. And so if Vice Mayor, if there's time and anybody has some comments or some feedback that I can parlay to Lucy, because I told her I'd call her after this call to wrap things up with her. So if y'all have some feedback that I can take back to her, I would love to hear that and have some more perspectives on it.
So if anybody has any comments, let Councilmember Murphy know. All right, I know that people have to get off. So Councilmember Mendez, are you on?
Yeah, I'm here.
You are. All right, so so the last few minutes, I want you to just give us kind of if you don't mind, just give us a brief update on anything we need to know about the budget, even though we don't probably know much right now. So you're recognized.
Well, I guess I'm going to take just a little bit more time to say exactly what you just said. The bottom line is right now, we don't know when the council budget presentation is going to be in the chamber. It's probably going to be after April 20th, before April 29, only because April 20 is when the administration gets this month's sales tax number. And April 29 is when an agenda will be published for our first meeting in May, when the budget will be on first reading. And so I believe that sometime between those 2 days, we'll get a budget presentation, but they have not picked out when that is. I have declined to set a schedule of meetings for the council because we have no idea how it's going to work. And I totally appreciate the incrementalism that's and the reasons for it. But the fact that we have no idea what the technology is going to be makes it impossible for me to figure out what would make sense for a set of hearings. You know, typically we would have some 10, 12, 15 days in a 4 or 5 week period when we would get together for work sessions or hearing from department heads, et cetera. And I'm trying real hard to wait as long as I can to figure out if something is going to come together for technology that I'll know what it's going to look like a month down the road, and to hopefully find out from the administration when they're going to propose something before we set a schedule. And that's a completely dissatisfying report, but that's where it's at right now.
That's okay. Can you any idea of are they coming up with any new projections on how bad this is going to be? And I'm not asking for how much the property tax increase that the mayor talked about was going to be, but the last number I heard was between 280 and 300 million.
Yeah, I'll talk a little bit. Before that, though, one thing that we'll hear a lot about from people in the community is the federal bailout. And for a couple different reasons, they're like, as of today, this continues to move, but as of today, there is zero impact, positive or negative, from the federal bailout money on our operating budget. That's stunning that there would be no impact, but there's two components of that to keep in mind. One is the bailout from a couple weeks ago will only reimburse cities for expenses, and those expenses have to be incurred between March 1 and December 31. Those expenses cannot be regularly expected expenses as part of your budget, and they can't be filling a revenue hole. So if you want to say, oh, I'm going to rent a hotel for people experiencing homelessness who might get sick, and you spend money, you can get reimbursed that money, but you're not going to get a sales tax revenue hole filled. So for all the talk about that part of the federal bailout, we got to spend money to get money. So there's no positive impact on the budget. Secondly, there was an announcement yesterday about $500 billion worth of direct loans from the Fed to states and cities. That is limited to cities over 1 million in population. We do not qualify. There's been some exploration about whether the state could borrow the money and in turn lend it to us, see if that would help. But as of right now, there's no state enabling legislation that would allow that. So it doesn't seem like that could come together by the time we do our budget. So people are going to talk about the federal bailout. And as of today, despite a whole lot of effort and thinking about it, there is apparently no positive impact on the operating budget from that. Secondly, as far as the projections, the mayor at a state of Metro set a number about fourth quarter fiscal 20. So where we are right now, he did not say a number for fiscal 21. The best information I have from finance, and it continues to move around because it's all projections, but the best guess they've got right now is the fourth quarter of 20, the quarter we're in right now, is a $230 million hit on revenue is what they're expecting. And for the fiscal 21 is more speculative, but they're expecting about a $250 million hit on revenue. That's sales tax and other taxes like alcohol taxes, business taxes, et cetera. They've walked me through line by line the assumptions they're making, and they're being conservative, which is what you would want out of budgeting. So hopefully it ends up being better. But my guess would be it's not going to end up being a lot better than that.
You got any good news, Bob?
It's a bright sunny day.
All right. Well, it is true. It's a bright sunny day, and we're still functioning, and we're doing okay. Well,
Vice Mayor?
Yeah.
If you want to ask.
Yeah. Councilmember Syracuse?
No, once Councilmember Mendez is done. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Bob, you finished? You got anything else you want to say?
Nope.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that report. All right. Councilmember Syracuse.
Sorry. Thank you. Before you wrap up, I wanted to make sure Councilmember Henderson is recognized. Her hand has been up. But then I also had a brief comment and question for Slade.
Oh, okay. Councilmember Henderson, I don't see people's hands on my phone, so you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Yeah. I guess I was just going to speak to if there was going to be an expansion to the full roster of committees, that I would be happy to. I certainly learned a lot as to how best to administer the Public Works Committee meeting by listening in to Councilman Mendez's budget and finance meeting, but just kind of order of operations, what to repeat, what to instruct people as to how to mute and unmute, how to use the hand button for various purposes for ayes or nays, how to restate things, and so on and so forth. So, you know, as far as just kind of best practice for running a committee meeting, I think that's my teenager in the background yelling, apologies. But, you know, and just kind of having setting things up. I had also my agenda showing on the screen during my meeting, and, you know, some of those things were helpful. So, you know, but it requires a fair amount of kind of bandwidth to organize it. So, you know, I guess what I would say, or suggestion I would have in our conversations around what is essential and non-essential and timing these things, I would encourage some of the smaller committees like, you know, Parks, Libraries, and Arts, on which I serve, to try to maybe from a timing perspective, like if you're going to make all the effort to do the agenda and kind of work through the meeting, obviously you don't want it to be too long. But it's a lot of effort if you've just only got 2 items on your agenda, you know. So we might want to think as to timing, if for some of those committees, you know, they kind of consolidate their agenda, or they might not meet every time or something like that. But anyway, just for what that's worth, if there's other chairs, as far as a kind of explanatory or helpful email or something, into how to administer that, I'd be happy to help with that.
Well, thank you. So what I was going to do was ask you if you wouldn't mind, and that's yeah. My dog in the background. If you wouldn't mind, maybe putting something down in an email form, and that way we can send it. You can send it to John Cooper, and then he can send it to other chairmen. Just because you, Councilmember Murphy, and Councilmember Mendez have been through this once, and maybe you could give some people some ideas, particularly the new chairs. Well, the chairs who are doing this for the first time next time, kind of things that you all learned about maybe the best way to do this. Do you mind doing that?
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. And I want to concur with what Councilman Sledge and O'Connell and others said, as far as, you know, as quickly, I would say, as possible, with good engagement from everyone, and Councilman Syracuse's leadership. But I really do think we need direction on what is essential and what is not. And I recognize that not everybody agrees on that, but we've got to have some sort of definitive statement on that, or this is just going to be, I think, particularly challenging. I mean, that was the biggest kind of challenge for us as a committee, and, you know, trying to be in alignment across those major committees. So if we can get there before next meeting and next round of filing, I'll be grateful. I think it'll be especially helpful to some of the larger committees that typically move a lot of things through. So thank you.
All right. Thank you, Council Member. Pro Tem Syracuse.
Thank you. That's an excellent segue of the comments I wanted to make.
Okay.
I think it would be very helpful if those who have used the system so far to lead a committee would start to get their heads together about a best practices in using the technology that we have thus far. So thank you, Councilmember Henderson. I think that would be great. As we look towards possibly expanding committee meetings, what I would suggest with others' input is to perhaps spread these out a little bit between Monday and Tuesday. That's just my thought based on listening in on how Public Works and Planning overlapped. They obviously, committee meetings overlap anyway when we're all together, but when we're virtual like this, I think it actually presents more of a challenge. So I think to J.O.N. Cooper and those organizing the logistics there, you might consider that. The second thing was to Slade. I'm curious about your take on the instructions we were given as far as texting you in order to get our names in the queue. From sitting there at council and watching and listening, it seems that everybody was fairly plugged into using WebEx and not texting you. I'd like your input on that, because I think the feedback that I'm going to give is that it seems that the WebEx platform in of itself is in its limitations, is good to use as far as the lower hand, raised hand, more than texting Slade in order to get that message to the vice mayor, in order to get that council members giving them the floor.
Absolutely. I will say that it was a last-minute decision to make the change from texting over to using the raise your hand feature. Had we done the texting, I really don't know if that would have went over well, and I think it probably would have slowed down the meeting. It's a matter of when do you hand over the list of people that are wanting to speak, and by the time that list of people gets to the vice mayor, my concern is that the need would have expired, and so we would be spending a lot of time of getting I didn't need to speak anymore, et cetera. With them having that raise your hand right there in front of them, they have the ability to shut it on and shut it off whenever they need to. I think as far as just user participation and utilization of the tool, in the next meeting that we have, because everybody has experienced and voted and we conducted a meeting, I think the next meeting, as far as with the tools we have, I think we'll have more participation out of it and people will understand better how this works versus the first time around. So I think it was a smart move at the last minute, and I think it paid off.
Jim, this is Bob. Can I mention something on that real quick?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Hey, Jeff, for everybody else who's going to end up chairing a meeting, one thing to keep in mind is it's a lot harder in terms of mental energy to run the meeting and be scrolling up and down the list in WebEx to check for hands that are raised. I found it challenging because you have to actually exercise hand coordination, look at the list, scroll it up and down, especially if you've got a lot of people participating. And anybody who's going to chair a meeting where you're going to have more than a couple people participating, to me, my takeaway was I was going to have to be more prepared and not rely on winging it on stuff, because there's a whole other set of activities going on in addition to what you usually do to chair a meeting.
Absolutely. I obviously I didn't chair a meeting, but sitting there watching Councilmember Mendez and listening into both planning and public works as they overlap and whatnot, and with the communication of use this text message feature. If we're going to ditch that, which I'm in favor of doing that, and just using the WebEx platform, having a best practices kind of document that is then communicated to council members and especially chairs as we prepare for our April 21st meeting, I think would be something that the council staff and Slade would be well served and time well spent to help us be even more efficient next meeting.
So I think all that's fine. I say, Slade, if you can work with council members, and I know what Bob's talking about. I mean, because at some point I started scrolling. You start flipping through that back and forth, and you're trying to make sure you don't miss anybody.
Absolutely.
And then I will also tell you the biggest thing I saw was that council members hit their raise their hand button and then forgot to take it off.
Right.
So it's sort of like being on the board anyway when people leave their button pushed, and then you go back to them and it's like, I didn't want to be recognized. So you weren't quite sure. That was about the only issue I saw, but I do think Councilmember Mendez is right. It put a lot more effort into the chair trying to manage the meeting in terms of trying to make sure that we didn't miss something as we went through.
So perhaps, Slade, if we are going to ditch this text message platform, perhaps what Slade could do, which I think would be very helpful, is to be monitoring those in the queue, so to speak. That would help whomever's chairing a meeting. Because I totally agree with Councilmember Mendez that I could tell from Vice Mayor, Councilmember Mendez, Chair O'Connell, and Henderson, chairing those in trying to manage the system. If there was somebody there helping, I think it would help a lot.
Well, so Slade, see what you can do. At one point, Councilmember Syracuse, I was going to call you up and have you sit next to me and scroll that thing, but then you would have been too close to me, so I didn't want to do that. So if we can figure out a
Vice
way to do
Mayor.
that, that's fine. Yeah, Councilmember Hurd?
Yes, I'd like to recommend Councilmember Porterfield to serve on that task force. She is vice chair of the Minority Caucus, and she's very astute to these things. And I think based on what Councilmember Mendez says, that would be a perfect fit. And since she's on this call, she can agree to it.
Councilmember Porterfield, you just sent me a message now. I can't see it. I'm looking for it. Are you agreeing to be on this committee as well?
I am agreeing to be on the committee, but there wasn't. Thank you so much, Council Lady Hurt, for that, for nominating me for that. I do accept that nomination, so thank you. The text message, Vice Mayor, was actually a suggestion to help you guys navigate whoever is running a committee meeting. My question was, could the vice chair of the committee help navigate who has hands raised and let the chair know who's in the queue to be honored? But then since I sent that message, Councilmember Syracuse made the suggestion that Slade does the same thing. So I think either the vice chair or Slade, I think, would be good to recognize who's in queue.
Can y'all hear me? It's Kathleen.
Yeah.
Okay. So in my meeting, I did take from Angie. I do need to figure out watching hers, then watching mine. I've got to get my agenda on the screen. So, but I will tell you what I started doing was I had Lady Styles, my vice chair, watch for hands. And then also what I did was as I read I asked the answer. Like I read item and then like Council Lady, are you like to make the motion on your bill? She would say yes. I am to make this. And so just kind of choreographing some of that thing. So together like handout of practices and tips. I think some of that choreographing is good just to help get things in front of us, discussion, and then you can have the free call for hands. But coordinating, getting things for us, which normally I wouldn't be a huge fan of, I think it worked well here. Oh, and so for the record, that I have better coordination than Bob, but that doesn't have minutes, just what stated.
All right, Slade, if you can help everybody, obviously you are helping navigate everything, that would be great.
No, absolutely.
Okay.
We'll get a guide together on that.
All right.
Hey, this is Kevin. You got to say, on the charter committee, the health department had a big thing that they were wanting to do in the charter committee, and I got them to put that off for quite a while. I don't know if we're ever going to meet, but based on what's going on right now, if you know of anything or if anybody on the executive committee knows of anything that needs to go through the charter committee, please let me know, or the vice mayor knows, so we can, again, make a decision on whether it's essential and we need to run it or not.
That sounds like a plan.
Mr. Vice Mayor, I have Councilman Swope has had his hand raised.
Okay, Councilmember Swope.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I just wanted to make sure that my vice chair, the wonderful Councilwoman Van Reese, was given an opportunity to speak. And I don't know if she did or not, but I was, 17 minutes getting in because I couldn't get in.
Well, we're sorry that you can't get in, and Councilmember Van Reese has spoken, and so you were well represented. How about that?
Gracias, senor.
You're welcome. All right. Anything else?
I'm on here too. I'm just listening.
Well, so
there's actually 3 Larry on here.
Okay. All right. So Larry, it is 4:26. You get the last word. Any comments from you?
Well, I've talked to Director with Monique, Director of Parks. They're just kind of trying to keep people busy right now since parks are not in full swing, like the maintenance and stuff.
Yeah.
Golf course is going okay right now, so she said they're doing pretty well with that, making them stay outside so they can still play golf. I've had some constituents complain about that, but most of the golf courses are making them stay outside with paying by kiosk or whatever, not letting them in the facilities. But, you know, they keep the greenways open, the golf courses open. We're still having trouble with a lot of the parents letting the kids use the playgrounds, which they're really supposed to be off limits. She said they're putting caution tape up, but a lot of times they just take it down. So I guess just need to remind constituents that they can use the greenways and parks, but not the playgrounds or the facilities. They can play golf, but they need to practice the good social distancing even when they're doing that. So she said everything's going pretty well right now.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you for that report. All right. We're going to sign off. Thank you all, everybody. Y'all stay safe. Have a good weekend. And we'll see or talk to some of you. Maybe not see, but maybe you'll talk to some of you all next week. Okay. All right. Everybody have a good weekend. Thanks.
Thank you, Bob.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.org.